Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Dr. Goenka. A very warm welcome to our forum. It's truly an honor to have you here with us. I'd like to first introduce you to our mentors, Mr. Vishnu Dhanuka and Mr. Sanjay Bhavania.
Hello, Pawanji. Hello. Hello, Mr.
Hello,
Goenka.
Vishnu, how are you?
Good afternoon, sir.
बहुत दिनों से चेष्टा कर रहे थे आपको बुलाने की.
You are both in Kolkata?
Yes.
Now I'm in Mumbai, but I'm based in Kolkata.
Yeah. And Sanjay ji?
Yes, I am based out of Calcutta, sir. We did speak. I did speak with you a couple of, I think, quarters back from Kotak when you were just moving from Mahindra.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, carry on, please.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. So we'll just start with a brief introduction and then we invite you for keynote speech. I'd like to invite Dineet Dadu, our Bangalore chapter president, to give the introduction, please. Dineet, can we have you?
Yes, Meghna. Yeah. Good afternoon, sir, members, and our esteemed guest. It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Pawan Goenka, a luminary in both the Indian automotive and space industries. A graduate of IIT Kanpur and Cornell University, Dr. Goenka has had a remarkable career spanning over 4 decades. During his tenure at Mahindra and Mahindra, where he eventually became the managing director and the CEO, he played a pivotal role in spearheading groundbreaking innovations such as the iconic Scorpio SUV. His visionary leadership has earned him widespread recognition, including numerous prestigious awards for his exceptional contributions to the automotive sector. After dedicating 27 years to Mahindra and Mahindra, Dr. Goenka retired in 2021. However, his journey continues to impact multiple industries. He is currently the chairperson of the INSPACe, an institution driving private sector participation in India's rapidly growing space economy. Additionally, he serves as the chairman of IIT Madras and holds independent directorships at Sun Pharma and Bosch Limited. So, a brief introduction to our organization. We at Millennium Mams, a non-profit educational organization founded by our mentors, Mr. Vishnu Dhanuka and Mr. Sanjay Bhavania, who are dedicated to empowering women through financial literacy. For over 30 years, Millennium Mams has been committed to fostering financial knowledge among women. Today's session with Dr. Goenka is a proud moment for us. We first connected at an AGM, and we are immensely grateful for his gracious acceptance to address our forum. Thank you, sir. So I would like to call, you can start with your keynote, and then our global president, Meghna Bajoria, will be the moderator of the session. Thank you. So you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself, please?
So thank you very much for that kind introduction. So let me first say that I don't intend to give a long keynote. I would rather have more interaction with the members here and discuss whatever they want to discuss. There are 3 reasons why I readily accepted to have this session with you. First is the Calcutta connection. Second is the Marwadi connection. And third is the Bosch connection.
Okay.
So Calcutta connection is going back several years. I met one of your members by name of Namita Mohanka. I don't know what last name she uses.
Yes.
About 6-7 years ago, when she had talked to me about this Millennium Mams, and she wanted me to interact with the members in Kolkata. That never worked out, but I took a note of it for future.
Yeah.
Then I look at the members that you have. At least half the names appear to be Marwadis.
Yes.
So very happy to interact with ladies from Marwadi communities. That connection does remain there somewhere in the soft corner. And third, in Bosch meeting, when I see you participate, I think the second year that we had the Bosch physical meeting.
Yes, sir.
I see that you come very well prepared. You have 7 or 8 members there. Everybody comes up, has a very specific question that is obviously pre-planned. It doesn't take more than 45 seconds on the podium. Ask your question, sit down. Very focused. So that's very good use of the time that you have, and clearly you prepare for that question before coming here. So that's a very disciplined approach for attending AGMs, which very few shareholders do. So that was the third reason that I wanted to interface with you. So let me first start off by saying that this whole objective of Millennium Mams, I think, is very praiseworthy. Unfortunately, in India, whether we like it or not, or whether you consider this as a gender-biased comment, but the fact is that women are not as financially savvy as they should be. And I can talk about my own wife, who is well-educated, but yet she is as financially illiterate as one can be. And I can say this on her face and she will not mind it, because she will admit herself that she doesn't understand anything about finances. And even my daughter, I think the most she can do is keep track of her accounts, and not more than that. So I'm very happy that that this initiative was taken by Vishnuji and Sanjayji almost 30 years ago to impart financial literacy, as you call it, or financial awareness on women. And I believe that it is nothing to do with investment. Even if you don't invest a single paisa in a stock market, still financial literacy is a very useful thing to have, because there are a lot of things that happen around you that you will better appreciate if you have that sort of knack for knowing what the implication of that decision, that action, whether it is of the government, whether it is of a company, whether it is a society, whatever it might be. It really helps you to understand very well. When I was talking to Meghna earlier, she had mentioned about how you sort of listen to budget very carefully, the union budget. And again, if you are not financially literate, and then union budget will have no impact on you, because everything that is said there has a financial implication, right? So just that part of it, I think in itself makes this whole literacy of financial aspect or awareness very important. And clearly, no one needs to become an accountant or a CA through this thing. What you need to do is be able to question your CA and not become your CA. And to question your CA, you have to be able to talk at the level where they can appreciate and know that they cannot get away with any kind of bogus answer, because you understand what you're asking and you understand what he will be answering. So this is a very, very useful thing. And I understand that not only you have some 700 members, you have some 10,000 women that have been trained by your various courses over the years. And that's a very good achievement that you have done in this. I also learned that Mr. Warren Buffett is your sort of role model, and a good number of you had in fact visited his place, and I don't know whether you met him or not, but at least visited the place. Yeah. So that's very good, and you are the right person to be your role model for this for investment. Nobody can do better than him. So let me just talk a little bit about two specific industry, automotive and space, and I would say that myself personally, I would consider myself financially literate, not illiterate, to be able to understand almost most things about finances, but I will not call myself a savvy investor. In fact, till the time that I retired from my regular job at Mahindra, I'd hardly made any investments. In fact, all the investments were made by my brother in Calcutta, who's a CA, and even he didn't do very well. I think I would have been better off putting my money in just an index fund and leave it there. Would have done better than that. But in the last 4 years, post-retirement and during COVID, I started getting into it a little bit. And in fact, I took a course in investment being done by one of my classmates from IIT Kanpur, to just understand the nuances of investment. And I would admit that I do not spend too much time doing my own research. I just depend on research that others have done, the things that get published by various investment groups, the Axis Bank or Kotak Bank or Motilal or whatever, and assume that they have done a good job, but then do my decision based on reading all these research things and some intuitive feel and some priorities or preferences that I have for which sectors I think will do better and do some intuitive investment based on some market research. And I don't know whether I have done better than the index or not, but last 3-4 years, nobody could have done too badly because whatever you touch turned into gold during this time. So if I was to talk about these two sectors just a little bit, and I won't take too much time and then open up for discussion. See, automotive sector has always been a sector that has brought in a lot of opportunities for investors. And if you invest at the wrong time, you could also lose a lot of money in the automotive sector because there are companies that have peaked and then gone down significantly. Now, if you look at today, where we are, you would see three kinds of potential companies to invest in auto sector. One are the OEMs, the large companies like Mahindra, Leyland, Tata, or whoever. Second are the suppliers like Bosch, where many of you have invested in, and many other suppliers, and there are literally hundreds of suppliers of auto industry that are listed. And third are the new age companies. The new age companies will be the electric vehicle companies, for example, companies that are into multiple sort of mobility solutions, companies that are doing charging infrastructure, companies that are doing AI-related things, companies that are doing connectivity programs. So there are all kinds of new age companies in automotive sector, and some of them are getting listed now. So there are three sets of companies, and each of this has a different level of risk and reward. Probably the lowest level of risk will be the large companies, but again, they will not go to 25-30%. There will be spikes like Mahindra, Tata have done in the recent past, but they will have a steady growth and not big spikes. If you look at the suppliers, you will see a lot more ups and downs, therefore higher risk and higher reward. And if you look at the new age companies, very high risk and very high reward. So it all depends on your appetite on how you want to distribute your investment. I'm sure that some of the money that you put in will be in safer investments. Some you will want to make aggressive bets and hope that you will get good return. One or two of them will fail also. So there is a complete set of opportunities available to meet any kind of investment appetite that you may have in the auto industry. And if I was to look at what is in store for auto industry, just generally at a very macro level, without getting into any specific company or anything, I think the auto sector overall, over the next 5-10 years, the medium term, and I don't know what your investment horizons are. I know for most people, 5 years is a very long investment horizon. But if you were to look at a medium-term horizon for investment, I think auto companies have good opportunity. The reason I say that is that in India, and in fact, I had just given a speech at the Auto Association annual meeting earlier this week, where I had given them a target of going from $150 billion of total industry size to $1.6 trillion. That means more than 10 times by 2047, okay, 23 years from now. And in doing so, to increase export and so on and so forth. And I believe that this is a very doable target. It's not sort of kite flying. And most people understand and accept that, yes, if you put a mind to it, it can happen. So if you imagine that the auto industry could be $1.6 trillion industry by 2047, you can imagine what kind of investor wealth will get created by auto industry, right? Again, there will be winners and there will be losers, no doubt. But I'm saying overall, it should be good. There, the question would be, what do you bet on in the auto industry? Do you bet on the bosses and other companies that have been traditionally in the IC engine domain, or do you bet on companies that are more on the electric vehicle domain? And the answer, there's no answer. There's no right answer for it. Electric vehicles are coming, will come, taking longer than I thought they would. And IC engines will not go away. They will remain. They'll remain for a long time in India, at least. So therefore, perhaps the valuations that you will see of companies that depend a lot on IC engine will be low multiples. And the valuations that you will see for companies that depend on newest technology will be very high valuation. And then again, there is no free lunch. So even though there is a lot of opportunity, you have to pay a dear price for it. So I'll stop in auto right here and come back to any questions that you may have. On the space side, the space is almost diametrically opposite in terms of investors' opportunities as auto is. Okay. The reason I say that is that space is basically a sunrise sector. Even though space has been around in India for 6 decades, but it's been ISRO, ISRO, and ISRO. It's only recently that we have opened up the space sector. In fact, that's the reason I am in this role that I'm in. That the space sector was opened and the government wanted me to come in post-retirement and try and help in the opening up of sector and bringing in the private sector into space. So it's just opening up. And there are very few companies that are listed and many companies that are sort of at the verge of getting to a point where they can list. The listed companies in the space sector are like Centum, Astra, Microwave, MTAR, Data Patterns, companies like these, which in most cases are suppliers to ISRO. And in most cases are companies that work both on space and defense. And then there are very large companies like L&T and Godrej, who also have a space business, but their share prices will not really be a function of what happens in space because they have too many other things going on. But there are many companies that are on the horizon, such as Skyroot, Agnikul, Dhruva Space, Pixel, and I'm sure that within the next 24 months or so, some of them will get listed and will bring opportunities for investors. And you will have to pick the right company. And I would suggest that if you bet on space, you should not bet on one company because one company may fail. You'll have to have a bouquet of investments, expecting 1 or 2 to fail and 2 or 3 to succeed. I do not know if you look at investments pre-listing in your group, but if you do look at pre-listing investment, then there will be opportunities in these companies even before they go IPO. So space will bring a lot of opportunities, but space is a long haul. It is not something where you're going to get instant that you put something in and something else will happen immediately. It will be a long haul where you'll have to stay put and wait for things to turn around because again, space being a new sector, it is getting tested on what it means to investors. I'm talking specifically in terms of investors, not in terms of what happens to technology and things like that. So it's a very exciting sector, undoubtedly, and non-controversial sector in the sense that nobody is against the space. You will find many people who will have issues with automotive because of safety, because of pollution, and so on. But nobody has a problem with space. So it's a non-controversial sector. So that's what I would stop here again. Otherwise, I'll take all of the time just talking and just open up for any discussion that you may want to have. And I would also request Vishnuji and Sanjayji if they want to add anything to what I have said before we open up for discussion.
No, sir, I will just have a couple of observations on the automobile part that you mentioned. Of late, last 2 to 3 quarters, we are hearing that the pickup in electric vehicle is not happening the way we wanted. Maybe because of the battery life and the quality of batteries or the entire ecosystem or the charging infrastructure is not up in place. So something on that, if you can show some light. And
Sure.
on the space, when we talk about space, what actually we are addressing to? Will it be related to telecommunication, more on the satellite information, or more on weather conditions, or it will help mostly in defense or railways? Those kind of situations, if we can just address.
Sure. Meghna,
Yes,
since
sir.
you are the moderator, may I suggest that we pick a topic and take questions on that topic so I can answer them together and then move to another topic. So maybe electric vehicle that
Surely.
they talked about. If there are any other questions that you have on your list of questions or anybody wants to ask, let's put all this electric vehicle together, then I'll answer those.
Absolutely. So you can start with your views on electric vehicle, then we'll move on to space, sir.
No, but are there any specific questions on electric vehicles from the members who are present here?
No, sir, not particularly on electric
All right, so
vehicles.
Sanjay, what you had mentioned about the electric vehicles not taking off and in fact slowing down the last 2 or 3 quarters is a very correct observation. In fact, in my speech that I mentioned on Monday, I had made that specific point that I am very, either I said pained or disappointed with the growth of electric vehicles in India. Today in the automotive passenger vehicle side, the penetration is only about 1.5% after about 7-8 years of a lot of support from the government, and even two-wheeler is only about 7-8%, and that's it. So there are 3 or 4 reasons. So first of all, let me just say that I am a strong believer personally of electric vehicles. And eventually, India cannot afford not to become big in electric vehicles. Otherwise, we will all be in trouble. Our cities we cannot live in if we don't move to electric vehicles. Right? There are 2 or 3 reasons why it's not picking up. One that everybody talks about a lot is the charging infrastructure, and therefore rains anxiety on how long can I drive? What happens if my car runs out of charge middle of somewhere? So that's one issue, and it's a chicken and egg situation because the infrastructure cannot come till there is demand. And right now, there are so few vehicles on the road that those charging infrastructure that have been established, they hardly have any business, right? So it becomes a white elephant for the company that is establishing it. That's one reason given. The second reason that's not often talked about, but is, in my view, as important or maybe even more important, is the fact that the number of models available, choice to the customer, is very few, very limited choice. There are about 4 or 5 models from Tata, and none of them are large vehicles. These are all small 4-meter vehicles. There are 1 model from Mahindra, 1 from MG, and then you go into high end where you pay 70-80 lakhs. So the automakers have to come out with many more electric vehicle, and I have mentioned this to the audience there also. And everyone is working on it, but working on it I've been hearing for quite some time now. We need to start seeing some models on the road. The third reason is that in spite of very low GST that government of India has given to electric vehicles, the price of electric vehicles still is 50-60% more than like gas and diesel vehicle, petrol and diesel vehicle, and that cannot sustain. Now I am told that just yesterday or day before, Tatas have announced a significant reduction in electric vehicle price, and if they have done it, others will also have to do it. Good news is that the price of the battery is coming down very rapidly. In the last 2 years itself, it's gone down with 30-40%, and that's the biggest sort of contributor to overall cost of the electric vehicle. So, and the government of India had just released yesterday the new scheme called PM E-Drive, and provided 10,000 crores of subsidy for electric vehicles over the period of next 2 years. So government still is pushing very hard. There are some success stories in the electric mobility solutions. The Blue Star, Blue Smart. That's a successful company, and I'm sure they'll go public soon because they have done a lot of fundraise and run by a very smart set of people. In fact, I met one of the co-founders just 2 days ago, and have known one co-founder for quite some time. Very smart set of people running it. So there are successes in the solution side of it. But and Ola Electric, of course, has had a very good IPO. Very good, probably a bit of not based on reality, more based on future expectations, right, and Bhavesh's charisma than the real fundamental value of the business. But done well, and we'll see how it goes further. So that's sort of a longer answer to your short question. I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on electric vehicle?
Yes, sir.
I would also say, again, just from investors' viewpoint, see, one of the hats that I wear is advising a private equity firm, and we have looked at unlisted electric vehicle or electric mobility investments for quite some time and have not invested in anything. And the reason is that we find everything to be too expensive. So I think all EV ventures that are raising funds right now, mostly unlisted, are overpriced.
Sir, I wanted to ask you one point about it. Sir, one major doubt people are having regarding EV is the resale value of cars. They feel that EV cannot be sold. So how do you think this problem will be solved?
Look, clearly that fear is there, but to me that appears to be unfounded fear. The reason I say that is the following. We all know that, say, electric vehicles yet not have come to the resale. enough. So therefore, resale price is not established. Okay.
Right.
Now, if you look at electric vehicles and compare them to a petrol vehicle, we all know that the deterioration of a petrol vehicle will be faster than of an electric vehicle because of fewer moving parts in electric vehicles, right? The only thing that deteriorates in electric vehicles is the battery.
Right.
And battery has a limited life. And after that, it's as good as new. So once you change the battery after, let's say, 5 years and put a new battery, it's like going back 5 years and you are starting new. So therefore, as long as you account for the depreciation of the value of the battery in your pricing model, then I don't think there should be a worry about the resale value because the vehicle does not deteriorate, unlike petrol vehicles. So it's a fear. It's a fear. And what I would also say is that when you're buying an electric vehicle and making the buying decision, you have to include in the buying decision that every month there is depreciation of the battery price, or battery cost, and you build that into your running cost. Don't simply look at the cost of charging and say, this is how much I'm spending. You'll have to add 2 or 3 rupees per unit for the cost of battery that you are depreciating. If you do that, then after that, you shouldn't have to worry about the resale value. But it's still to be proven. It's still to be proven because the resale has not been established.
Sure, sir. Thank you both for your wonderful views on insights into EV and space. So we have a whole lot of questions
There was
about
second question that Sanjay ji had,
yes,
that was on
regarding the domains which will be impacted by space.
So see, the answer, very short answer, is all of the above. Okay. In space, there are, you can sort of break up the business into 3 parts. What we call upstream, midstream, and downstream. So upstream is launch vehicle, like Skyroot and Agnikul are doing. Upstream will be satellite manufacturing. Upstream will be putting satellite in orbit. Okay, that's all upstream. Midstream will be when satellite is in orbit, moving, it's sending you data. Okay, right. Or it's providing communication, or it's providing navigation. So all that process of collecting this information, which is done using what we call, say, ground station or earth stations, where you see all these radars when you drive. So right. That is the midstream. And the downstream is that when you get the information, how do you convert that information into valuable decision making? Okay, so for example, if you are looking at data on agriculture related things, okay, on your soil, that data you will be able to use to see how do I get more yield from my farm. So that's where the application comes in. That's purely taking space data, using artificial intelligence or machine learning to get useful outcome or useful conclusion, and that's the downstream. So these are 3 major things. Now today, if you look at where the maximum focus is of the private sector, you will find it is in the upstream. Okay, upstream is an expensive game to play because the vehicles cost a lot of money, the launch costs a lot of money. If something fails, then it's gone. There is nothing in between. It's 0, 1. The moment something fails, it's worth 0, right? But that's where right now a lot of focus is. And but the real value creation will happen in the downstream, where you are able to use the space information and data to get valuable information for the end user. And everything that you have, weather forecasting, communication, navigation, your GPS system, your disaster management, your marine related urban planning, everywhere you will use the space data to do that. And that's where a lot of opportunities will come. And that's also a very low investment thing, because all you need is a computer, some understanding, learning, and you buy data, do some processing, and sell the information.
Amazing clarity, sir.
Thank you. I've learned this the last 2 years. I knew nothing about this.
It's really fascinating, sir. And so
it is a fascinating field. I must say that if your children want to get into space, do encourage them to get into space. It is a fascinating area.
Surely, sir. And so the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, in one of your interviews only, you had said that India's space economy is expected to zoom from $9 billion to $45 billion in the next decade. Sir, and sir, you're with INSPACe are heading it. So, sir, could you highlight some specific initiatives that INSPACe is implementing towards the private sector, sir?
Yeah. So see, so you're right that the current economy, space economy in India is about $8.5 billion, which is less than 2% of the global space economy, right? And that's the reason we are focusing on it, saying that, look, India, given that we have a lot of space technology and given that ISRO is so powerful, India really should have a much bigger space economy than what we have today. And that's the reason we have targeted $44 billion in 10 years, which is 5x. Now, many things that we are doing in this area, some of them are just starting, some of them are kind of getting established. The biggest thing here is that the business case for space business is not very obvious. So while the government, when it's spending money through ISRO, they are not doing it to earn return, right? They're doing it for societal benefit. They're doing it for providing infrastructure like building road. You don't look at return on building road, so you're providing infrastructure and so on. When you look at the launch center, like the one that we have in Andhra Pradesh, nobody will ever make money setting up that launch center because the amount of money spent is humongous.
Right.
And what you can earn is very little. But but the government can do it, private sector cannot do it. Private sector has to look at return. And in space, the business case for return is not very clear, not very obvious, right? So what we are doing right now is, in terms of generally incentivizing private sector to come into space activity by doing multiple things, and I won't go into too much detail of that. Generating demand, and in space the demand primarily is with the government. So generating that demand and moving that demand, which currently is more or less going to ISRO, to private sector. And third is to help in getting investment. Because just like I said, that it's a long gestation kind of sector, and therefore early stage investment is very difficult to come by. In the last year, the total investment in space startups in India was about $130 million, which was significantly higher than what it was 2 years ago, yet very small compared to what happens in the Western countries. So one of the very innovative or unique thing, I won't say innovative, unique thing that government of India has done in the last budget, I was able to get an approval for 1,000 crore VC fund for space startups. So government of India, for the first time, putting up 1,000 crore for a specific sector to create a VC fund, so that fund will then invest into deserving startups, and it will be invested using sound commercial principles. It is not a giveaway. So it will go to the same level of scrutiny that any VC investor would do. But we have money pool available, which is not competing with some other opportunities. It is dedicated to space. And the view also is that if government spends one rupee, the private sector will get encouraged to spend 4 or 5 rupees, because they will see the government is putting a stamp of approval on that company, right? So our 1,000 crore may be worth 5,000 crore. So that's the kind of sort of commitment the government of India is making. We also are doing 2 or 3 major projects whereby projects costing 1,000 crore, 2,000 crore kind of investment by private sector, where we are coming in either as a PPP model, where government puts some kind of a grant or viability gap funding, or technology transfer, so that the private sector can take it from there. So basically looking at each of the things that I talked about earlier, whether it is the launch vehicle, whether it is satellite manufacturing, satellite launching, whether it is data dissemination, creating ground station, availability of data, all of these things we are identifying where the private sector would need some incentivizing, some facilitation, some hand-holding, some sort of bringing them together with somebody else somewhere else in some other country, and doing all of these things to make it worthwhile for private sector companies to look at investing in space.
Thank you, sir, for explaining. I think private sector is really benefiting through all the facilitations and hand-holding you're doing for them. I'd like to invite Pooja Narang from Singapore for the next question, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Goenka. My question actually is when you spoke about making the space sector playground for the private sector in one of your interviews. While you've addressed, you were addressing some of the initiatives taken by the government. I was wondering, what are some of the challenges that the private sector faces in entering this industry?
So you can put it in 3 or 4 different buckets. So first of all, when you say private sector, do you mean primarily startups or do you mean established companies?
Either, sir. So I think what my
let's talk about
was...
startups. Let's talk about startups. So
Sure.
the startups, the first issue they will face is that while the bootstrapping phase, like any other sector, is fine, but once they start needing funding in the space sector right now, at least especially in India, to get funding is not as easy as it might be in some other sectors, right?
Okay.
The second thing would be that the gestation period is very long. You will not get any output or any outcome in 3 months, 6 months. It will be several years before you start seeing revenue, and even longer before you start seeing profit.
Right.
Third is that there's very little expertise available in space outside, right? So therefore, for anyone to go out and hire people who know space is not
right.
Okay. Fourth will be technology access, where again technology is concentrated with ISRO, and that's one of the things that INSPACe is doing, is to transfer the technology to private sector through a process that we have put in place.
Correct, sir.
Finally, the most important, all of these things that I talked about, one can get over not very easily, but one can get over. Okay. The most important one will be getting demand. As I said earlier, that demand is concentrated with the government.
Right.
And by and large, that demand goes towards ISRO. How do we divert that to private sector, right? So,
absolutely, yeah.
So INSPACe's task is to look at all of these things that we talked about and try and facilitate each one of these to make this happen for the private sector. And what I believe, Pooja, is that once we see few real successes,
right,
many of these things will take care of themselves. Okay. So very specifically, if I was to look at a few successes that I'm watching very carefully, and don't read anything into it in terms of investment potential, I'm just giving you not from that view.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, I understand.
Skyroot is a company that from Hyderabad that has done a launch vehicle. And I think within the next 4 to 5 months, they will do a real launch with commercial payload on the vehicle.
Right.
And once that succeeds, and given the kind of pricing they are hoping they can do for that, they can get a fairly high demand and then have a commercially successful model. And they are planning to launch as many as 10 to 12 rockets every year. And if they can launch 10 to 12 rockets every year, that will be a very good business for them. Each rocket launch could be 40 crore. That means they will get into 400, 500 crore of revenue in the next 2 to 3 years, 400, 500 crore per year, like profitably. So, and situation with Agnikul, which is another company that is doing the launch vehicle. Now, if I look at a company like Pixel, Pixel is launching satellites in orbit and using those satellites in orbit to collect data, and from the data to collect to create algorithms, okay, and sell the information. Now they have gotten into some very good niche areas that nobody has done before. In fact, just recently they are the first Indian company to have gotten a contract from NASA to do something, right? So again, that's a company that very soon will get into, they already have revenue, but they will get into good revenue and profitable. The third company could be Setsure. Setsure is an application company which does application in the agriculture field. And they already have a good amount of revenue. I don't know if they're profitable or not, but at least a good amount of revenue. And that's the kind of application-driven company that will do very well. Dhruva Space is doing multiple things. And again, so these are the examples that I'm giving you are about a dozen plus companies in space that have matured to a level where they're getting revenue and sort of ramping up in the kind of business they're getting. And each of these companies are what one would consider a deep tech company. In space, there are no marketplace companies. There are no companies that create a portal and exchange of goods or service, something like that. Everything is deep tech, and they're doing very good work.
Okay, thank you, sir. That was really informative. Thank you so much.
Can we have Rohini
And
Jain
then,
from Pune?
sorry, one more thing. The companies like Centum, okay, when I had met Centum the first time, I had told them that your share price is way undervalued, and they're a listed company. And then I didn't sort of notice. And after 1 year, the price had more than, not even 1 year, less than that, had I think almost quadrupled. No, not quadrupled, 3 times. And then they came back to me and saying, now you will not say we are undervalued. So it's of course many of these space companies are owned by technocrats, and they don't put focus on things like how do you take a share price up. So maybe those guys did focus on it after my saying so. But so a company like Centum, and there are quite a few, the ones that I had mentioned earlier, they're all like Centum in the sense that they are providing sort of services to other companies. And I think these companies also have very good potential because they have been more or less inward looking up until recently, where they're looking at India as their source of business. And as the companies start looking at global sort of customers, they will also have good opportunity to grow. And their growth is risk-free growth because they are suppliers. So they're not taking any risk per se. They basically have to grow their business and ensure that the business remains profitable. And therefore fairly safe bet as you move forward.
Okay, that's extremely interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, Rohini for the next question, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. It is a privilege to have you here today. So my question is a diversion from regular investment topic going on. So my question is that what steps are being taken by INSPACe to support education and training of next generation of space scientists and engineers?
Very good question. Yeah.
So, and how can India stop the brain drain happening, which we see in the young generation today?
Okay. So let me answer the second question first.
Yes, sir.
India has moved away from brain drain in a big way compared to what it was when I graduated from college.
Yes,
so
sir.
When I passed out of IIT Kanpur, if you didn't go to USA, something is wrong with you. Was the situation, right? So everybody got a ticket to go to US, and I did too. But now, if you look at the top institutes, even like IITs, you will not find more than 8 to 10% of pass out of graduates going overseas after pass out.
Yes, sir.
And the reason for that is that at that time, the opportunities in India for professionals were very limited. Now that's not the case, and even compensation is very healthy. A fresh graduate from IIT from any IIT earns more than 20 lakh
Yes,
as they
sir.
come out of college. That's almost like MBA, and MBAs are earning 25-30 lakh fresh out of college. So that's a pretty good earning. Opportunities are very high, and I think in India, this whole startup ecosystem that has developed, a good number of graduates get into startup. So I believe that the brain drain is not what it used to be. Yes, still there is a net outflow, no doubt. But to some extent, that's even good because that does give us sort of a connect with many countries because there is this sort of connect to your own country and that these people have, and through that we get technology, we get funds and so on. So that's on the brain drain part. Now coming to a question on skill development, that's a very, very relevant question. And as I said in one of the discussion earlier, that in India right now, the space expertise is by and large ISRO, right? Mm-hmm. So INSPACe is doing 3 things to help in that. One is that we are conducting short skill development courses for the industry, not for the students, for the industry, for them to learn, because each of these people are doing work in a space area without getting trained in a space, right? So they're learning on the job, so to say. So to provide them very focused training in a specific areas is what we are doing, where we are drawing upon the expertise of ISRO people and bringing them in as faculty and providing this teaching. So they're very successful, a lot of interest in that, and every course that we have offered so far has been oversubscribed. The second one that we are doing is we have developed a set of courses, 6 courses to be precise, that can be offered by colleges as part of a space technology curriculum.
Okay.
Okay, so far, I mean, if you go back 2 years ago, there were hardly any colleges in India that offered space technology as a subject.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we have developed this curriculum, and I don't know if you're familiar with AICTE. AICTE is a government organization that oversees all the course curriculums of all the colleges except IITs. So they have now adopted this curriculum and have announced this as an official curriculum for space technology.
Okay.
And now we are working with a set of colleges to start offering these courses. And some have already started, some will start very soon. So we will see this thing growing. And we are also looking at how INSPACe can provide the physical infrastructure, like the laboratories that you require for teaching space to a bunch of colleges to allow them to expand these courses, right? And also for this courses, they need faculty because none of the colleges have faculty members who are trained in space. So we are providing that again using ISRO retired people, or ISRO has a very good healthy set of retired people, because people retired 60, and these days 60 is not old at all.
Yeah.
So they have a fairly good energy level remaining when they retire, and we are fully leveraging these people to provide faculty for these courses. And third thing that we have done is we have handpicked few retired ISRO people and taken them on board in INSPACe. And the only role is to help companies do what they're doing. We don't charge for their services. So anybody can tap into them and say, hey, I want such and such person to come and work with me for 5 days to help me with this and this. So they become the mentors and handholders. So this is like an informal way of helping these companies develop their skill.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we can say that the future looks much brighter now.
I would like to think so.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure.
So on a lighter note, a quick rapid fire round just to get you, for our members to get to know you better. So between auto industry and space sector, which one is closer to your heart and why?
See, look, though it's a rapid fire question, but it's not a rapid fire answer. I've been, even in the auto sector, I've been lucky that I have done different sets of things at different time of my career. So when I was in GM, it was purely R&D and advanced R&D. Not when I was in Mahindra for first 12, 13 years, it was more of engineering, and last 12, 13 years, more of management. And I will not trade any of these three phases for any of these other two at that point of time. But I cannot go back to that. So similarly, when I came to space, I realized that this is a really exciting sector, even more exciting than auto. But if you ask me, therefore, is my loyalty moved to space? Answer is no. Because what I'm doing in space, frankly, is an enabler. I'm not a doer. Whereas in auto, I was a doer. And there's more excitement in being a doer than an enabler. I shouldn't say that. That's not a good thing to say, because I can never say that. I keep telling my people that now you're an enabler and you should be as excited. So I didn't mean it in a negative way, but I'm saying there's a very different kind of excitement that you get in space sector. And all of you would have heard the phrase that is used, that it ain't space rocket science.
Yes, all the time, sir.
So all the time you hear that. Now I see why that phrase has so much meaning, because rocket science is 10 times more complex than automotive science, right? So it's a field that you get so passionately attached to, because when that rocket takes off, and those 30 seconds after having worked on it for 2 years, the 30 seconds give you so much, like, I don't know how to describe that. And that you will never get in automotive. Nothing in automotive will give you the 30 seconds of high that you get in space, right? And when you see the whole world praise India,
yes,
because Chandrayaan 3 or anything else, that satisfaction is unmatched.
Different pride, matter of pride.
Different pride.
Yes.
So if I had started in space in my career, I probably would have never looked back for anything else. But I came into space very late in my career, in fact, post my career.
Right. Yes, sir. Wow. Thank you, sir. And
sorry for a long answer to a rapid.
No, sir. It was beautifully expressed. And sir, if you could share one message for today's youth, something which we could all pass on to our children, so what would it be?
See, one thing that I notice in youth is sometimes they're in indecent hurry to move on to the next thing. And in life, you have to have patience. You have to earn your right for the next step before you go to the next step, right? And life is long. You start working at the age of 20, 21, 22, and you'll probably work, the current youth will probably work till the age of 70. That means you're working for almost 50 years. So there's a lot to achieve in life. Don't be in a hurry that everything has to happen in the first 5 years.
Thank you, sir.
And second thing that I want to say that's very important and that I tell my people all the time is never, ever stop learning. There's nobody in the world who knows everything. There's nobody in the world who has nothing left to learn.
Beautifully said. So between playing bridge and reading, which hobby is dearer to you and why?
That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. Playing bridge any day.
Okay, sir. So I'd read you're very passionate about it. So, and sir, your opinion about what is the one most important quality of a leader?
One most important quality of a leader is to be absolutely transparent and honest. Okay, not too many people talk about it, but the reason I say that is very simply that what's a leader? Leader is somebody who is leading somebody who wants to be led.
Right.
If nobody wants to be led by you, you cannot lead anyone.
Absolutely.
Right? So that person who is getting led has to have full trust in you, has to know that you are there not for yourself, but for them. And that will happen if they will find you to be honest, no facade, say it the way it is, transparent, and willing to help when chips are down.
Thank you, sir. These are actual life lessons you've given us. And sir, I'll just take one last question before, because we are running out of time. Garima Singhal from Muzaffarnagar, please.
Hello, sir.
Hi,
Thank you
Garima.
for the enriching session, sir, and all the life lessons. Sir, my question is again based on investments. You've been talking about private companies and the government doing VC. So how do you see the role of FDIs playing in space sector? Do you think it is to go forward?
I don't know whether the question you have asked because you know about the FDI situation in space or whether it's a general question asked. But one of the very good things that we were able to drive is to open up FDI in the space sector.
Yes, sir.
So till recently, to invest, to bring in foreign money into the space sector was almost impossible. It had to go through a long, lengthy process, and there was hardly anyone who ever got an approval for FDI investment. We have opened it completely now,
Yes,
and you can bring in 49% investment without any questions asked. You don't even have to ask for approval, and you can go all the way up to 100% with some approval. So the reason FDI will play a very important role is threefold. As I said many times during this interaction, that space is a sector in India where it is all about ISRO. So when the private sector is coming in, they need money,
yes,
they need market, and they need technology.
true.
Right? Technology can come from ISRO,
Yes.
but it can come from outside India also. Money can come from India, but there's a lot more money available for investment in space sector outside India.
True, sir.
Markets can come from India, but there are much bigger markets available outside India. So when we look at FDI, we're not just looking at money coming in. We are looking at along with that money, because some FDI will be coming from the pure financial investors.
True.
In that case, it's only money coming in. But a lot of FDI will come from strategic investors.
Yes.
Who are coming into India, tying up with somebody, doing a joint venture, licensing something, or investing in a company with a strategic intent. They will not only bring money, they will also bring technology. They'll also bring access to market.
Yes, sir.
Right? And therefore, FDI will play a very important role in this sector for all three reasons: technology, market, and money.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Meghna.
Thank you, sir. I wish we could have carried on the session, but we value our time and we are very particular about, making sure that our speakers leave on time. So thank you once again. And I would like to invite Rachna Yadlam, our committee member from Bangalore chapter, to give the vote of thanks. Can we have you, Rachna, please?
Thank you, Meghna. As we conclude this enlightening session, it is my pleasure to extend a heartfelt gratitude to a visionary leader in the field of space exploration, Dr. Goenka. Your presence today has been truly inspiring. Your pioneering work in the leadership in both the automobile and space industries has set a new standards in innovation and excellence. We would also like to thank our mentors, Mr. Dhanuka and Mr. Bhuwania, for their continuous guidance, and lastly, thanking all our members present today for your active participation. I would like to also mention that as you all know, that Millennium Mams is global, with members joining us from 11 countries. Admissions are now open for the next year, so please do let your friends and family living abroad know about this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It was really fun interacting with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.